ex-gladiator, Macrinus, who wants to control Rome, whose desire is to be emperor and control the Roman Empire. I don't portray a villain. I don't look at it that way. Brilliant. He's a great director. He's a master at the top of his form. I'm talking about Ridley Scott. He's a master at the top of his form, and it's a privilege for me to get the opportunity again to work with him. Watching Paul get beat up was was a lot of fun. God bless him. He's a hard-working young man, and he has a bright future ahead of him, like Fred and all these young actors. You know, it was really just put a team of great young actors. I look forward to seeing what the next 20 years looks like for Paul and for Fred. Blood, violence, laughter, rhinoceri, sharks, beheadings. You know, it's comedy. It's a musical.
Well, it's a very simple question with a very complex answer. But I'll prefix that with a lot of hard thought and a lot of hard work. But when it boils down to what will the sequel be, it really starts off with what happened to Lucius. From that moment, you're on a blank sheet, page one. You're trying to write the next 120 pages and create that. That's hard work.
The character, to me, what excited me about it was all there on the page, in the sense that, like, it was very clear to me what the character was thinking throughout the script. And then there were certain junctions that, like, you always want a certain amount of scenes in the script that you feel are high pressure. So the scenes with Connie were always going to be very important to me, and kind of integral, not just to me, but to the film working. And also the scenes towards the end with Denzel. The rest was about kind of filling out a character that you fundamentally believed could win the fights that he was in. And that's not physical, it's about psychology that you have to develop, that you're just the toughest guy in the room, not because you're the strongest. And that's a fun thing to get to play as an actor.
Experience enables me to make it easy for myself. And because I'm able, unusually, to draw very, very accurate storyboards to the level of very complex comic strips, I draw the whole film as a storyboard. So it's this thick before I begin. So I'm fully shooting the thing on paper before I get anywhere near the set. So when I get there, I can position 11 cameras in 11 minutes.
I think you take everything from every job that you've done before to the thing that's out in front of you. I think the thing that I couldn't take was kind of the focus that would be on the physical preparation. That was a brand new learning experience. But to boil it down, I think you take the care that you feel for all of the previous characters that you've played and you put them into the character that you're playing now. That's the job. That's the fundamental job, I think, that you have as an actor. And what I learned from Ridley is kind of endless, but the focus of that would be that the job that we do is precious. The time that we have when we're making the job is precious. And that, I don't know, it shouldn't surprise me, but it surprises me that with the legacy that this man has and the career that he has built and sculpted for himself, that it's still the day that he's living in presently when he's working is the most important, not anything to do with the past or the future. It's very much present tense.
I think bad experiences of having been the author of Alien and Blade Runner and allowing them to get away from me. That ain't gonna happen in the future.
Okay, it's 20 years later, and I am stepping onto a set where I had an extraordinary experience 25 years ago. And it was just extraordinary and moving, frankly, to be stepping onto that same arena. I really felt as if I had Joaquin and Russell right there with me, even though I had a whole new crew with me as well. It was really, really, really amazing and very hard, I have to say, to leave again. Lucilla has passed the last 18 years as a prisoner of a whole slew of intervening emperors or would-be emperors, people who have fought to gain power only for themselves and who have circumvented any of the real rules for how to nominate an emperor. The Senate has no more power. Everything is about gold, and the Praetorians are basically dictating the rules. Who gets to be emperor? Well, the one who will pay the most. Why do they need Lucilla? And why is she still alive? Well, because she is the daughter of the last legitimate ruler of Rome. And as such, she holds this moral idea. She's a representation, a symbol of a time that was glorious for Rome. It was the golden years, the 80 golden years of the Roman Empire that people in history still talk about. But now those times are over, and she has been basically used as a hostage and kept in chains for the past 20 years. She's heartbroken. She's lost her son, whom she sent away in order to save his life from the Praetorians who would want to murder him so that they could take power for themselves or choose whomever they would put in the so-called holder place of power. But there's this one beautiful thing in her life, and that is that she is loved by the amazing and very valiant General Acacius, played by Pedro Pascal. And we have some beautiful scenes that show that amazing love story, and that's where we find Lucilla at the outset of the film. I just could not believe it. I walked into a meeting with Ridley in Los Angeles way before we started shooting, and he had not changed, incredibly. Like, he had just not changed, and was so excited about starting this film and excited to show me all of the things that they had prepared. And he was also really, really, really excited that we would be working with Paul Mescal. And it's just been like that throughout. Just like in the first film, it was so interesting to see how Ridley really considers the whole process as something organic that keeps developing. It isn't something that's a closed box that he now has to put on the screen. No, everything is like this plant-like nature of evolving and of growing together. And he really so welcomes ideas and what if, or wouldn't that be cool if, and what do you think of? And he's just really, really receptive to that. And as an actor, that just gives you like an enormous confidence because you feel like, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to be received. He doesn't always have to agree. Many times he'll say, no, that's shit. But you never feel like it's something that's negative or at all. It's about whether it vibes with what he's hearing inside his head. And so he'll keep on encouraging you to come up with something else or say it differently. And if you hit the spot, then he's like, go for it. And that's fantastic. I felt like I was discovering as much about Lucilla this time as I was 25 years ago. I think that the discovery process is, for me, the most amazing part of acting. I feel like I'm a detective and I'm going in and I'm starting to build this inner life and this experience and this very specific vibration that particular individual has when she does anything. And that's one of the things I so love, is the telling of the story by telling it to yourself first. Like, what is this person doing? Why is she doing this? What does she believe in? Who does she pray to? How does she, what does she dream of? There are so many things that goes into building that character. And for me, that was the same this time around. The way that I've changed as an actor is that I no longer worry as much whether a moment is too big. I really, really, really rely on my director to tell me what they need, whereas before I wasn't sure if they could be trusted. Now I trust them much more. Where to start? So I'll start with Paul. Paul is just, such a serious and wonderful actor. I sensed immediately that he was holding on to that burden he was carrying for his character. And so it was very important for me from the beginning to be respectful of the burden, of the emotional burden he was carrying. And I did that all the way through. And it was a very lovely sort of knowing process where we knew what the other person was doing, but we never said anything. We just held it. With Pedro, I told him a story about something that I had once seen. And I said, what do you think? Should we play that? And he was just so game, so happening, and so, wildly charismatic. I just don't think that there are enough words to describe the incredible joy it is to be around him. I hope that the audience takes away from I hope that the audience comes away with an experience of having lived inside another era, and yet at the same time understand just how close we are to the people in the past. We are so much more like them than unlike them. And while I do think we have evolved many wonderful and important codes of equality in the world, we also, just like in the past, are still making huge mistakes. And as you can see in the film, we all need to just pay attention to the things that matter about our lives and about our society and who gets to control it.
Being on the set of a Ridley Scott film is unlike any movie experience I've ever had. And I mean that with complete sincerity. I have been on incredible sets. I have been on the set of Game of Thrones. I've been on Star Wars sets, incredibly large productions, and I've not been on anything like Gladiator II, and I'm not likely to be on anything like Gladiator II again. It's just really not done anymore. And Ridley is the kind of director that insists that all the pieces be in place, has multiple cameras going at once, so all of the things are there in front of you. Audiences can expect to be incredibly entertained by Gladiator II, like they were with the first movie. It is a powerful ensemble cast led incredibly by Paul Mescal and Denzel Washington and Ridley Scott. And it is that kind of old school entertainment that does things that can only be done now in cinema. Ways that I'm similar to my character is that he's very loyal, and I believe myself to be a very, very loyal person, loyal to my friends and family. And then the difference being, I don't know. I think we're exactly alike. The difference being is that I would never get into an arena with any actor more than 20 years younger than myself. I prepared for this role by training mainly, and instead of studying Roman history, I used it as an excuse to rewatch all of my favorite Ridley Scott movies and to just let my imagination fill itself with his visual authorship of cinema, and to just kind of unconsciously deliver myself into his vision, be a set piece, and to honor the movement of his visuals as best as I could. It's not very actorly, but more kind of like know what instrument I am, and make myself the best instrument for him to play. I just think about Ridley making myself a clarinet and Ridley just being like, this is Pedro, my clarinet. One of my favorite things about the character is his context in terms of one of the original beloved characters of the first movie, Lucilla, played by Connie Nielsen. I love that he's part of the opening battle, and then the reveal is that he is part of the connective tissue of the first and second movie by being married to Lucilla. And working with Paul, it was like, was working with Paul was making a friend, and that I knew would be my friend, and I was just sort of like waiting. As soon as I got to Morocco, I was like, "Where's Paul?" And that was that. It couldn't have felt more safe and strangely dangerous to have an immediate connection with an actor so that we could beat the shit out of each other, and as best as possible.
I was driving a car, and my phone was connected to the radio of the car, and I saw the phone call come in from my agent, so I picked it up, and she told me that the news, that they got this role. They're asking me if I wanted to play this person, and I was so flabbergasted and moved and just rocked that I had to pull the car to the side of the road, park it, and like properly have a conversation. And then I sat in silence for maybe 20 minutes alone in the car after, just being like, am I in a dream right now? Is this real? That was my experience of it all.
I similarly had a phone call. I had a missed phone call when I was on the tube from my agents, and I was at Westminster Station. I don't live in Westminster, but my curiosity got the better of me, and I got off the tube and I called them, and then they told me the news, and I walked home from Westminster thinking, wow, what a gift I've been given. I play a character called Geta. He's the Emperor.
And I play a character named Caracalla,
Also
who is
an emperor.
also an emperor.
There's two.
At the same time, in fact.
Yeah.
We were
Both
co-emperors,
doing
twin emperors,
at the
you could
same
say.
time.
In unison. In
Theory.
Yeah.
They're practicing emperors and trying to rule the empire concurrently at the same time.
At the time of, I don't think they know it
No.
when the film begins, but at the time that it starts, Rome isn't so hot on these guys. You know, they're
Not nailing being an emperor.
No.
Currently,
Yeah.
it's not going well. But in their delusion, they think they
Rock
are
stars.
Yeah.
It's truly one of a kind. There is no one like Sir Ridley Scott. The way that he makes a movie is so full on. It's so immersive. It's just it won't. No one has done it like that, and I don't think anyone else can. He operates usually 8 to 12 cameras all at once, filming at the same time. He watches them all. He's orchestrating the scene like it's this event. So every single day you feel like you are at you're part of this enormous event.
There is no set like a Ridley Scott set. it's laced with this urgency and a vitality and a sense of it feels important, because it is, but it feels like you're capturing moments that really matter. And in that case, it's unlike any other filmmaking experience I've experienced, and I doubt I will experience again. I think there was nothing but reverence and respect for it, what he did in that film, especially as an actor so young, kind of being able to embody that role and that responsibility was pretty extraordinary. I think that we had our own task to achieve, our own kind of direction that we had to kind of take this role, these roles. They serve a different purpose than Commodus did in the first Gladiator. So whilst it was an amazing piece of work, we didn't want to kind of be too bogged down by something that's happened. That was something amazing that happened. We had to focus on the task at hand, really. Some songs, some great songs. We sing some great...
Yeah, really good tap
good,
dancing number.
Yeah.
It's epic in every sense of the word. This is the kind of movie that is meant to be seen on the biggest screen possible, with the loudest sound, and the most people. Joe was talking about this earlier, how it's about... This is something that's meant to be felt in communion, and the act of going to a theater and seeing it with a community of people who are screaming and cheering and experiencing the full sensorial insanity that is this movie. I just think it's an event.